he is so off the rails. And I want to put this again in perspective for people. The bad things they're doing with redistricting do not outweigh the terrible nuclear economy that Trump has built. Right. It is radioactive waste in this economy now. And that is why I wrote a piece yesterday called the coming election takeover, because there's this pattern. We've all seen it. Trump makes a joke, and then people go, oh God, he can't say that. That's outrageous. And then MAGA says, ha, he's just owning the libs. You have no sense of humor. And then they say, but he had a point. And then it's a law. So the stuff he's saying about the election takeover, I want people to take it seriously. As you said, Stuart, Democrats need to fight the war you're in. I wrote a lot of prescriptive things in this piece.
Yeah, like, pull up that piece. Yeah,
a guidebook. It's on the front side of the paywall. It's a free piece. It's a guidebook on how to stop a lot of what they're going to do. And I really hope you guys will read it, because here's a clip of Trump talking about sending ICE.
Would you send a National Guard or ICE to voting locations in November? Would you do that?
Well, you know what? I'd do anything necessary to make sure we have honest elections. We have to have honest elections.
So you're not...
Guys, nothing about this moment should be taken literally. It should be taken lightly. It should be taken both literally and seriously, as they used to joke about Trump. They're going to try to do this. And so a lot of what I talked about in that piece was how do you face up to the legal challenges of this, and how do you make the legal part of it a part of your Democratic game plan? So, guys, I want to talk about that a little bit and get your thoughts on what should Democrats be doing in these states right now to start preparing for what is almost inevitably going to come. Stuart?
Well, look, I've been an advocate that states need to utilize the laws that they have to build up state militias. The National Guard is both state and federal. Mm-hmm. And at the outbreak of World War II, when the National Guard became completely absorbed into the Army because they needed humans.
Yeah, they federalized the whole. Yeah.
They federalized the whole thing. A lot of states, in fact, there's a national law that gave states the mandate to create their own state militias.
Yep.
California actually has one that is a couple of thousand people. I think it's mainly like an honorific. Like if you raise money or something, you probably get to join.
It's like being a Kentucky colonel.
It's like being a Kentucky colonel, exactly. But there's one in Illinois. And I know, this sounds kind of crazy, but that doesn't dissuade me. One thing we know about Trump is he resists pressure. Where there is pressure, he'll go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I think if state of California was sitting on 20,000 state militia that are well trained, they could be useful in other ways. Same with Illinois. They have one of these laws. They don't currently have a state militia. But I think that's the sort of stuff that these states need to do, because in the big picture of this, in the post-Trump world, he's going to pardon everybody. And it's really going to be up, I think, to the state attorney generals to hold the criminality of the Trump administration liable. And, I've said this before, I think the roadmap for this is the tobacco tort, where the state attorney generals came together and sued Big Tobacco for the largest settlement to date. And, it's going to be partisan because no Republican attorney generals will participate in it, but you can't let that dissuade you. And I think there will be a lot of hydraulic pressure to say, well, one, it's the past, let's move on. We tried that with Biden, it didn't work. And I think there'll be a lot of pressure to say, well, you can't do that because, well, it's not going to lower anybody's gas prices or make groceries cheaper. But that's not the reason you do it. Ultimately, it does because it will help reinstill faith in our system. And it's our system that is the monster of the economy, which is why the stock market keeps going up despite all this stuff, just because the American economy is so huge.
Right.
So I think they very much need to be doing this and taking it seriously. And I hope presidential candidates, Democratic primary, will have a real discussion about this.
Yeah, I think it's important that they not live in that bubble where they pretend that everything is fine and it'll just all go back to normal.
Yeah, I participated last week in a group was conducting kind of the war game, looking at the 2026 election and any autocratic moves that were made and I was on the autocrat dictator wannabe team,
Right.
with some other people who you'd be. It's Chatham House rules, so I can't get into that.
Got it.
But they were, and what I can tell you is that you're absolutely right, Rick and Stuart. You cannot underestimate the power of having the presidency, the House, the Senate, the courts, having control of all of that, and thinking everything that, oh, they can't do that, they can't do this. They can legally do quite amazing things that tilt the table big in their direction. And at every state, we did 2 runs at this thing. At every step, the pro-democracy side was behind the ball because still the normalcy bias couldn't get their heads wrapped around having to organize militias or create new laws around the National Guard and how you set that up. I mean, all the things that Stuart's talking about and that you wrote about. It's really, it was shocking how easy it is for them to really push around what's going to happen this election and not do it with a whole lot of, I mean, the court will say it was legal and constitutional. We know, that's what I'm saying. It's when it's all of that is in corrupt hands, when all of that power is in corrupt hands and enablers, it is absolutely amazing. No, your lawyers are telling you, no, they can't do that, but they do it.
But when they do it,
and the court says, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, there's no going back. So
You know,
it's really about now.
I
Fighting
saw
now.
Comey, when he was interviewed by Nicole,
right.
Was saying that he still had a lot of faith in the federal judiciary, and thinking most of them were still true to the Constitution, whether or not they were appointed by Democrats or Republicans. The thing about that is that was true in 1936 Germany too.
Sure.
It was a small, it wasn't a majority that thought this was like a great idea. So I mean, I'm glad he thinks that. I hope it's true, even more so than he thinks. But I think if we're counting on that, you know, I mean, those kind of scenarios are fascinating. I know you can't talk about it, but you said in one of these things, didn't you, Rick?
I've done. Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know. It's just a basic thing. What happens if the House just refuses to seat people?
There are a million.
What's the remedy?
Right. There are a million slips between the cup and the lip between now and a turnover in the House. And there's a really good chance Mike Johnson just says, nope, we're not seating anybody.
Yeah.
Accusations of voter fraud are so widespread that we can't do it.